Hello, guys, and welcome to another episode of Question Block. In last week, I asked, what are your favorite and least favorite things about the Nintendo Switch? So I will be discussing the responses in this video. So Nick Mario 1 said, my favorite thing about it is that it's portable, and my least favorite thing is that it has no charm like the past Nintendo consoles. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Like, the portability of the Switch, I feel like we really take it for granted these days. Like, back in 2017, 2018, it was really a fun novelty to bring it around everywhere and play these bigger games like Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey, and things like that. There was definitely a lot of excitement surrounding that, but now I feel like we kind of take it for granted, but I think it's a pretty good aspect overall, and it definitely kind of helped a lot of things. Like, I feel like I have more time to play certain games now that they're mostly portable or able to be played in handheld mode. So yeah, that's a good aspect. And with the thing with it has no charm like the past Nintendo consoles, I kind of agree. Like, the UI does not really have much to it. Like, it definitely feels pretty, like, empty and barren compared to, like, the older menus, like, on the Wii, the Wii U, even, like, the GameCube. They had, like, really interesting menus with a lot of personality and some, like, depth and things like that, like skeuomorphism, inspiration from, like, the Frutiger Arrow aesthetic, different things like that. I could make a whole video about it, but like the Nintendo consoles from the 2000s and early 2010s definitely had a lot of charm to them, which the Switch is definitely missing. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. So Kian said their favorite feature is that it's being portable and a home console, such a cool idea, and their least favorite is Joy-Con drift. That's self-explanatory. Yeah, about Joy-Con drift, it's just such a crazy situation with what happened. Like, I experienced it for the first time around 2017, but that's back when it really wasn't documented that much. I mean, sure, there were people saying that it did happen, but it wasn't really all over the news like it started around 2018 to 2019. But yeah, I really wish Nintendo fully fixed this issue. I'm not sure if they like have with newer Joy-Cons in the past like year and a half or not, because I don't really think they've been doing much. Like, the only things they've been doing are like um free repairs, but that really isn't an excuse for still having Joy-Con drift. They could do all the free repairs that they can, but that it doesn't really fix the issue. It just it doesn't really do anything. But yeah, they really need to fix Joy-Con drift at some point, and that's definitely one of the worst aspects of the Switch, is it's been happening to a lot of Joy-Cons. The MC said, my favorite thing is how great the games have been. Sure, there have been some missteps here and there, but I feel like the Switch's first-party library is going to be looked back on very fondly. The return of Sandbox 3D Mario, featuring extremely imaginative spins on classic Mario locations, filled with atmosphere, but will likely go down in history as the Doom or Resident Evil 4 of open-world games. Ports that made great games even better, and well, others that didn't do that. One of the biggest crossover events in history that became the best-selling fighting game ever, the first Metroid game in 2 decades that more than stuck the landing, tons of solid or stellar entries in other long-running series, and a few really good and unexpected partnership games. And their least favorite is a bit broad, but it's just that Nintendo hasn't quite felt like themselves. Scummy mobile games and online services, much less personality than how they present themselves, really bad hardware quality after years of it being superb, and while I praise the library, they released a lot of games that felt unfinished. And their old problems are still in full force, like taking down fan games and having an absolute joke of an online service. Yeah, I definitely agree with most of the things you said here. Like, the high point of the Switch have been basically like the highs for Nintendo in general. Like Super Mario Odyssey, like my favorite Mario game of all time, my favorite video game of all time, Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. Two very innovative open world games that are definitely, I mean, at least for Breath of the Wild, well beloved by fans, and Tears of the Kingdom might, though we don't really know since it's not out yet. And then there's just a ton of other games that I just really enjoyed. And yeah, like another thing is that they've been bringing back a lot of games as well from different series that have been dormant. That's definitely a thing that I really like about the Switch. Like Advance Wars, for example, like the game that I'm playing in the background here. That is really fun, and it's a great remake of the first two Advance Wars games. But yeah, just definitely a great aspect of the Switch in general. Like mostly across the board, we've been getting good games. I know there've been a few like iffy or pretty low quality games here and there, but I feel like more often than not we get like high quality games on the Switch, I would say. And then for some of your least favorite things, I kind of agree with these as well, like the online service, and then with how they've been presenting themselves with like their with the UI and everything. Like I mentioned, it definitely doesn't have a lot of personality, and it feels very barren compared to like the other Nintendo consoles. And yeah, and then also like the games that aren't really like top quality, there's also like a lot of unfinished games like Nintendo Switch Sports or Mario Strikers Battle League. So yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like I feel like Nintendo's definitely had the highest highs and the lowest lows this generation. So yeah. So Super Mario said, "My favorite thing about the Nintendo Switch is the hours of games you play being on your profile. And my least favorite thing about it is the lack of customization for the menu." Yeah, with the lack of customization, as I was saying, yeah, like that's another thing kind of related to the UI. Like with the Wii U, more so the 3DS and the Wii U, but the 3DS and the Wii U had like a lot of different things and a lot of different aspects. But the 3DS in general like had a lot of customization with the themes and the badges and a lot of things like that, and the Switch really doesn't have that. I know the Wii U didn't really have it, but I feel like the Wii U kind of made up for it in like all the features that it had. But yeah, I agree with that. And with the hours of playtime on your profile, while that is a good feature, I wish they went farther with that, like they did with like the Wii U and 3DS, with like the playtime journal thing that you had on there, where you could look back at like what days you've played certain games, or like what games you're most played. The only way you could do it on Switch is just looking at your profile, but I think it would have been nice if they brought over like the feature from the 3DS and Wii U that had like full access to the amount of time that you've spent on each game. I think that feature would have been nice. So Toph said, "My favorite part of the Switch is the idea itself with taking the Switch out of taking the system out of the dock station to play on the go, and then put it back in the dock to play on the TV. But my least favorite things are the issues with the Joy-Cons drifting. I mean, one of them doesn't even register up and down movement, and how first-party games don't run well, have very minimal content that don't get free, or that get free content updates to finish the game, and are buggy." Yeah, like I know some of these things are things that I stated before, but with the games that are buggy and don't run well, yeah, that's definitely an issue with the Pokemon games. Like, with Pokemon on the Switch, it's been pretty disappointing. Like, aside from Legends Arceus and Let's Go to a degree, because I actually feel like Let's Go was a pretty fine game with how it ran and everything. I know some people have problems with, like, the content and the battle system. I thought it was a pretty fine game. Like, if you kind of isolate it from the other Pokemon games, it's pretty fun. But Legends Arceus is really the only true, like, solid Pokemon experience on the Switch. Like, Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet have a ton of problems with performance and issues and different things like that. And yeah, it just really seems like those games have been really falling behind. So CypherJax said, my favorite thing about the Switch is the portability of it, and my least favorite thing about it is the battery life. With the battery life, I feel like that depends. On some games, it's not very good, but on other games, I feel like it works great. So I think that kind of depends on what game you're playing, but across the board, I wouldn't say that the battery life of the Switch is that bad. I mean, on older models, it is a bit questionable, but like the newer models that they've been releasing, I do feel like they've improved it a lot. So yeah, I don't really think that's that big of an issue for me, but I can understand, like, if you play, like, a lot of games that, are, like, intense or kind of, are kind of draining the battery a lot, but yeah. So Jack Attack Gaming said, okay, so my favorite thing about the Switch is when those good games, they're really, really amazing. Like, I can name so many now that I'm even a little nostalgic for, such as Mario Odyssey, Smash Ultimate, Breath of the Wild, and also the third-party support is impeccable. But the worst thing about the Switch is the many things, like small and defective Joy-Cons, overpriced, online subscriptions making games run like a snail in glue, and the quality over quantity of first-party games. Yeah, like I said before, the Switch kind of has the highest highs and the lowest lows for Nintendo. Like, yeah, the games are great. Like, most of the first party games are great. And when they are great, they can be kind of questionable. Like the games that are lacking content at launch and are unfinished. And then there's also the online, which is a whole separate issue. And yeah, with the online, it's just kind of crazy that they charge us money for a service that has like peer-to-peer, not even dedicated servers. And then the $50 subscription like still has that as well. And yeah, and while the output of the retro games that they've been adding has been getting better, you still don't get to keep those games, and it's still a subscription-based service. So it definitely is a downgrade from Virtual Console, but yeah, I definitely agree with how you feel about the online and everything. The online is definitely one of the low points of the Nintendo Switch, and it's just pretty disappointing in general. Like, I really hope next generation Nintendo fixes their issues with, like, online. It actually has dedicated servers and fairly prices it, and doesn't do that whole thing where they replace Virtual Console with, like, a subscription service. I mean, I think it's fine if they would keep that, but just give people the option to download these games. But yeah. So Christoph Ashworth said, favorite part, it's owned by Nintendo. Least favorite part, it's owned by Nintendo. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up for me. Like, Nintendo could either be, like, really good or really questionable and have really weird and dumb business decisions. But yeah, like, on one hand, Nintendo makes amazing games, but with the corporate side of Nintendo, not so good. But yeah, that basically kind of sums it up. So yeah, the next question is, who is your favorite obscure Mario character and why? So when I say obscure Mario character, I mean characters like Tatanga, Foreman Spike, Stanley, or even like the RPG characters like Vivian or Bo or Toadbert, like characters like that. But yeah, who is your favorite obscure Mario character and why? So anyways, thank you guys for watching this video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and make sure to check out my Discord server if you want to. Goodbye.